Going to call this meeting to order, August 1st CRCRC meeting. Let's start by taking roll call.
Jeff Marks.
Alex Robinette.
Dave Bench.
Duke Garwood.
Excellent. All right. Before I even open the floor, I just want to thank everybody for making the time to get to this. I know it's been some time in coming, and with summer schedules and everything that are going along with it, it is difficult for us to break off for an hour or two or even three. But we have some important things to do here. They've been kind of stacking up, and I really, really appreciate you all coming. Okay, good.
Can we say we appreciate you taking the role of being chair?
Well, okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to open up the floor for public comment. Are there any public comments out there? Anybody who signed up for public comment?
Nobody signed up.
Nobody signed up.
Okay.
Okay. See, we're going to get through this very quickly. All right, and the consent agenda, we only have one item, and that is the meeting notes from, when was that meeting?
June 27th.
June 27th. Does anybody want to make a motion with regard to the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, meaning the minutes from June 27th.
I can second that.
Okay. All in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
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 Any more discussion? Okay. Carries. Regular agenda, here we are. Discussion and possible action on emails and letters of CRC. This was an agenda item that Tom had put on, and we are going to keep it there. It's kind of like we wanted that to be a standard fixture of these meetings. I think it's a good idea. As far as I know, other than the Dietz Justice note that we got, I believe, at the end of June, actually, we haven't received any emails to the CRCRC email site.
We have not made the correction that Dietz asked for. I don't know if we need to do that. I don't know if you're able to do that directly.
We've been
Or-
maintaining it.
Do it.
We've been maintaining it.
Can
We
you
would
access
need to update
it?
it and send them an
Resend
update.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gone for so long. But
I know that
So-
you responded to it,
Mhm.
right? And it was a good response. So are you going to take care of that then, Jeff?
I can
Or
do it.
who?
Okay, if you
Yeah.
don't mind,
Yeah, I just.
Somebody?
And then send it to me and I'll put it in the Dropbox.
Okay, we'll do.
Excellent.
Thank you,
Okay,
Alex.
good. I don't know if there's any more discussion around emails. Are we good? Okay, agenda item number 4. Update on city council action regarding the CRCRC. You all probably know that I attended last city council meeting for a number of reasons. One was to establish leadership for this group. I got appointed. The second thing, to come up with or get at least approved a process for replacing and for adding people to the CRCRC. All agreed that it is city council's responsibility to make appointments to this group, but how those names are given to them for appointment, well, that can be a number of different ways. It can be through the official city website where we have an application process, or it can be somebody just coming up to any one of our members and suggesting that they would like to be part of this, and we bring those names forward. We actually settled that we would do a combination of those things, and anybody that we could put together onto a list, we could take forward and with our recommendation and get them appointed, they would probably be fine with it. In other words, they're essentially giving us a lot of autonomy in how we do this thing, but they want to have the final word. The other thing that we talked about was we had been a group of 6, and I suggested to them that it might make sense for us to go to 7. It will make it easier for us to achieve a quorum. 4 being a quorum in 6, 4 being a quorum in 7, it doesn't make any difference. So we can more easily get 4 people together for a meeting and get a quorum together. And also it would represent a tiebreaker for us. And they all agreed that that was a good idea. They asked whether or not I thought that we could get 7 people to be on this committee, and I assured them we could. Although, as we know, it's not been as easy as we thought it would be, but I think we're making progress there. And I told them so. So, we good? So, I told them that we would continue to work on that and that we would try to bring them some names here at the next city council meeting. Okay? And then finally, after getting appointed here, I asked them, I made the big ask, I told them, that I want the group or the city council to recognize that we are not a legislative body, that we are a work group trying to come up with ideas and recommendations based on public input so that we can come forward and just say, well, we think this is what the public's saying, this is what the public wants. It doesn't really have anything to do with, we're not making the rules, all we are doing is trying to represent the public to the city council and to P&Z. And with that in mind, and the difficulty that we've been going through in getting a survey out, it becomes apparent or pretty clear that while a subgroup can work within itself and knock out a lot of work, getting that work recognized or reviewed by other members of the committee is difficult. And it needn't be. So I'd ask for a suspension that would allow us to continue to work in subgroups, but to be able to conduct ad hoc meetings on the side such that we could enlighten the rest of our own group for ideas, thoughts, whatever, so that we can move the products that we're trying to produce, we can get to them more quickly. I saw a lot of nods up here in the council, and everybody seemed to be in agreement. Now, they took a motion to say, okay, let's give them what they want. And then council said, well, wait a minute, you have an ordinance on the books that says that any committee or commission that is appointed by city council must follow the Open Meetings Act. And what Dave is describing there is not an Open Meetings Act kind of thing. You can't do that. So they talked among themselves for a little bit and decided maybe we can amend that ordinance to allow certain bodies on their approval to get a little more latitude in doing some discussions outside of their formal meetings. They thought that would be a good idea, and then they decided that they would turn it over to council to make an amendment that they can vote on at the next city council meeting. And that passed. They took that and that passed with a vote of 3-1. Okay? So we can expect at the next city council meeting that this will be taken up. Hopefully it will get approved and that we are going to be able to move a little more freely for the work that we're doing. Yes.
I just wanted to ask if we could talk about that a little bit, because I think what that looks like, just because some people have questions. Is that us talking via email or on the phone, or are we coming here and having informal meetings? Just, I want to give people the sense that it can still be public. It's a question that's been raised. How do we handle this? What does it look like? What can people expect? I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, it seems to me that at least being able to share some emails would be a good idea.
Like we could bring Duke into the conversation.
Well, you know,
Really nice.
The fact, that's right. The fact is that, there's an awful lot of discussion among a couple, 3 people, and it doesn't get outside.
Yeah.
And how do we bring that in so that we can get that discussion to happen? Now, given everybody's schedules, it's pretty darn hard to schedule anything.
Yeah.
So,
do we?
I believe we're going to be given that latitude to be able to work as a work group.
Okay.
More. Now, what I promised them is that we would continue to have our bi-monthly meetings, okay, or semi-monthly if you like, and that no decisions with regard to what the group was recommending or going forward with or whatever would be done outside of those meetings, so that it will effectively function the way that it has already, but with a little extra. Okay?
I'm good with
I am totally.
Good. All right. And I believe
Ain't got
that was the
nothing
full thing that, City Council, I felt pretty good coming out of there. I think that we made progress. They want to see something come.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So you just covered 4, 5, and 6, it looks like.
4, 5. Okay, yeah, now, with regard to adding people, let's see, where are we? Discussion?
Item
possible
five.
see- We're on item 5.
We did that.
Possible
Moving
action,
it
the
up to
number of
number
members. We did
7.
item 5. Oh, well, okay.
You want to make
Hold
a
on.
motion,
Bef-
right?
Yeah, before,
Oh,
now,
gotcha.
I talked with City Council about this, and I believe the way that I heard it is, we can have it any way we want. We could have 5 members, we could have 6 members, we could have 7 members. What do we want? And I suggested that I think that the public would like to see 7 members because there's just more input coming from a broader audience, broader. So I believe it's incumbent to us to approve for ourselves that this is what we want to do. Either we do or we don't. So do I have a motion in this?
Make a motion, I think, that the CRCRC membership number increase to 7 or something along those lines.
I second.
Okay. All right. We have a motion to increase the number to 7. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Passes. All right. We will be 7. All right. Moving on to item 6 now. Okay, as I promised City Council, we would get together with a list of names that we would be recommending to be part of this membership. And I know that we've been out there canvassing, looking for people that are interested in doing this. It turns out, lately, we've been getting more interest, and folks are starting to knock on our door. And we have not had the opportunity to vet all these folks that are at least considering taking a position on this. So what I'm going to ask is that I don't think that it's urgent that we add members right now. I think we have a quorum now. We can do what we need to do for tonight, which is to look at the survey and see whether we want to go forward. But, and then there's really not anything else that urgently requires us to get to 7. So I'm going to ask that we delay our action on adding members until at least next CRCRC meeting. Okay? I don't know if we need a motion on that or not. Desiree? Okay, then we just agree, okay, for that, so we're just gonna table it. All right? I've had some very good discussion with a lot of people. It's a great way to get to know the people in Roywood, I'll tell you that. All right. So we're moving on to item 7. Look at that, 15 minutes in, we're already on item 7.
Big one.
We're on the big one, that's right. And what it is, we got the survey in front of us, and this is survey version 4C. You've all had it available to you for about a week or so now. And, and I was hoping that you'd all take a look and see if there were any comments that you need. Now, we can go through this in a number of ways. What I'd like to do is to come out of this meeting today with approval to go forward with this survey, maybe with some touches that we come up with this evening, but at least a way forward that, you know, I think we're pretty close to the end here. And if we are, then we can start working to the next step, and that is to get it out. Okay? So, I'm gonna just open it up to y'all to, you know, make comments on what we have here today and see if we can get those things addressed.
I have some notes.
Okay.
You know, there's some, you know, standard like edits, commas, and, you know, capital, things like that that we can do at another time. But some of the bigger things to address are, I think that we should maybe have a note when this goes out indicating roughly how long it'll take to complete. Because sometimes you get these surveys and they say this will take you 5 minutes, this will take you 20 minutes. I think it's just good to kind of give people, you know, the chance to prepare for what's coming. So whatever time we think that is, we can work that out later. Another issue might be, and I'd like to know what happened before on like the Strike Force survey. There's the digital version, but should we also make a paper version available? I think of people like my parents that would struggle with the digital piece. They like to hold paper in their hand. Is that an option that we could like mail them or hand deliver them or something like that? It's just on my list.
For the analog among us, huh?
Yes.
Can I ask you a clarifying question
Yeah.
there? Do we have access to Tom? I know he had a lot of thoughts about that last time around and this time around making sure that everyone has the ability to fill out the survey. Is he continuing to provide consulting to the group on that topic?
Tom?
Yeah.
Tom has, the last time I spoke with Tom, about a week ago, he said that he will do his best to make as many meetings as he can. And that, but don't be surprised if he doesn't make many. And when he does come, it will be by Zoom, at least for the foreseeable future. So if he can't make it, or if he's not at it, he can't make it. But I asked him to stay on regardless, particularly in light of our going to 7, I think we're gonna be okay. If it comes to a point where he needs to drop back, he'll let us know and just kind of perform a consulting service for us. No. So does that answer your question? I'm not sure it did.
Yeah, I would just recommend that we keep a list of questions we have for him so we don't all bombard him with all these one-off questions, but that would be one that I would certainly want to reach out to him about if we were keeping a running list, is the paper version. I think that's important to make sure that we keep track of that, because I think we should discuss administration of the survey.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if we want to carve out separate time.
It's
we want to
not
go
a-
through.
Yeah, let's go through it first,
Yeah.
and then the logistics of doing it.
Yes.
Are going to come to, and the story's not good. Okay, so we're going to have to do some additional work in order to get this thing out.
I have just a couple more broad questions, and then if you have broad questions, and then a few pertaining specifically. So the next one is a little bit big, but is the survey anonymous or public? And I know we've discussed this. I think just to, you know, my opinion is that I think an anonymous survey is going to get more participation and more honest participation, because I think that as provided we can track it carefully with whatever technology so that we're not getting multiple responses. But I think that it's such a tight-knit community that people might feel more comfortable answering without any sense that they might offend or alienate or, you know, break tribe or whatever. So, which is actually another question I hadn't written down but I thought about. Is it one survey per household, or the adults in that household? You know, how many people? Because I know not every household agrees on everything, so I don't know.
Why don't we figure that out along the way now? Let's take the first thing.
Okay.
Whether or not it should be anonymous or whether we're going to require identification. I don't know how it was handled with the comprehensive plan.
I don't remember either.
Desiree, do we know how that was done?
Ashley might know
All right.
I'm not sure.
My recollection is it's anonymous,
It was anonymous?
but I think we need kind of superseding the survey, writing the survey, we need like a working group to figure out the administration of the survey, and collecting these details, interviewing city staff. I know city council members have firm thoughts on the administration of the survey, and I think that almost supersedes the survey itself, because whether it's anonymous or not, like you want to know that going in terms of how we craft the questions and what kind of information we're asking. I'm happy to put some time into this, but I think we need to do some discovery work first around like what was done last time and what's expectations from council members, because because up until this point I've heard generally it's city staff thing, city staff will figure that out, but I think we need to know who is it, us, is it staff, like who's doing what, how was it done last time, and what are the views people have on this.
I know a little bit, I know a few of the answers to those questions. It was actually turned over to a consulting group last time.
The consulting group did the first survey.
And that same group did the second survey
Okay.
as well.
Okay, got it.
Because they had the access to the Survey Monkey,
Yep.
and we do not right now, which is actually a logistical issue for us. So we have to figure out how we're going to, what's the vehicle for getting this out. But yes, if you want to take this, by all means. Now, as far as anonymity goes, I think that that's a question we should be asking ourselves right now, and I think that, we ought to leave this evening with at least what our recommendation is. If City Council has some ideas about it, that's great, but I think that they're looking for our recommendation in any case. So can we talk about, what do you think?
I don't care. I mean,
Yeah,
anonymous or not, it doesn't, hey, I'm more concerned about the information than who did it.
Well,
I don't need to characterize, I don't need to characterize it by someone that has a 15-story house built next to them. I know that's totally
So if we don't want the data, we probably shouldn't try to collect the data.
I'm sorry?
If we don't want the data, that sounds like a vote for anonymous, because then we should be intentional about not collecting it.
I would just say that it's I think like Alex says, people are gonna be a little more comfortable if it's anonymous, and if that's the case, let's do that.
Mhm.
I think that's
That's
kind of
what
what
I
you
said,
felt.
yeah.
And
I think you might get more participation.
We're trying to make it easy.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that feels to me.
Okay.
If it's anonymous, hey, no big deal. If it was anonymous, I'd probably sign my name to it and say, hey, here I am.
You can make it optional. If you
Sure.
want to put your name, you can.
Would you be all right with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jeff?
I mean,
I don't have
assuming,
strong views.
Yeah.
I'm most interested in what is possible
Right.
first. Like, what are our options before we make the decision? But it is good to know what we're all
I think
feeling, and I don't have a strong view on it. But if you feel strongly about anonymous, I think you have some good rationale for it.
The only reason, and I had thought that I wanted to have names associated with it because, whenever we get emails, I generally cruise by wherever the person's from so that I can see what it is they're talking about. Because a lot of the emails are very specific to their space, and you say, well, I'm seeing this across the street, or I'm seeing this next door. I go, well, what are you seeing? What is that? And is what we're talking about a serious thing, or is this just something that's kind of,
I'll vote for
creating an
optional.
itch?
I like
If
optional.
it's optional, you'll get that feedback.
Optional sounds good. Why don't we do
It's a
that?
good compromise.
So, we've made it. I'm good with that. Let's make it optional.
Okay.
So the other points with whether it's one survey per household, and do we track the number of entries per household? I know I had heard from some city council members that there's specific technology that they have in mind to make sure that we can track, to make sure that there's no ballot stuffing here. So I think that's something we want to look into. If that's what they're guiding us towards, I'm happy to. I think
haven't
that's
heard
good.
that.
Yeah.
Who are we talking to here?
I I can't remember. I've talked to a few of them.
Really? Okay. If there is, I hear what you're saying.
I think it might have been Phil.
Okay. Does he know about such things?
I'll have to follow up with him because this was months ago,
Okay.
and I just figured we would have had this sorted out by now, but we haven't talked about it, and I'm realizing now if we're serious about
Yeah.
we need to figure this out. We need to
Okay.
figure out
Sure.
hey Phil, what do you have in mind?
Right.
Do you have a company you want us to use?
Yeah.
Let's talk to them. Let's figure out, hey, do they have a template they want us to fill out? Because what if our survey doesn't fit in their templates that they're going
Well,
to provide us,
you know,
and then all of a sudden we're going to rewrite the
I'm
survey?
going to come right back on that. This is really our show. And
Yeah.
I know that, city council is providing input to us and all that, but it's not their show, it's our show.
Okay.
So if we feel like it should go a certain way, I think they're willing to listen to what we have
Okay.
to say and just kind of take it at face value.
Fair.
Clearly, this discussion is happening in a way that it won't happen there with them.
We do need some guidance though. Is there a budget involved? You just mentioned SurveyMonkey. That's a third party vendor. We need to know
Yeah.
how much does that cost.
That's
And
fair.
I think
That's
keeping
fair.
costs low
Yeah.
and not hiring consultants and, I think whatever we can do to kind of keep this bare bones
Mhm.
is
But-
good.
Still going back, what's your feeling? Should we have restricted to one survey per household, or should we make it every adult? What do we think? What do we think?
Not restricted, one per household.
Not restricted,
Right.
okay?
I agree.
Should be,
I think we should restrict to adults per household.
And
Maybe
not-
maybe 2 per household. I have an au pair. Does she get to fill out her own survey?
You
Well,
do
my
that?
son turns 18
Okay.
tomorrow.
like,
Does
do you,
he get to fill out one?
So what do
Yeah.
you think? Do you think
Yeah.
Do you think it
That's a
should be
question.
up to 2 homeowners and not adults?
That's a
Is it-
fair way to describe it.
Yeah, I think
Kinda
so.
what
I don't
was
think,
thinking.
because your au pair is more
Yeah, she's been here for a month.
staff. I mean,
You know
she's
what I mean?
obviously part
Yeah.
of your family and lives
Yeah.
there, but at the same time, I think it's, maybe
she's not paying
slightly-
property taxes.
Yeah.
So I
Maybe
think we should maybe restrict it
who's
to
ever
those who are
on the
paying
team.
property
Yeah.
taxes.
oh, so we'll go all the way back to the creation of the country, landowners only.
So no,
There we go.
no teenagers that are of voting age, just adults.
You wouldn't,
No, like
No, no,
mother-in-law,
that-
if your
I think-
mother-in-law lived there.
I think 2 per household.
2
is
per
probably
household,
right.
up to 2.
Okay,
That's right.
okay,
Okay.
Okay?
all right. Does
We
that
go with
seem
that?
reasonable?
Yes.
If we can do that,
Does
okay,
that-
this is our goal anyway.
Do you have any thoughts on that, or no?
My only thought would be they're generally maybe 2 adults per household, they work together to fill out the survey. So that's a good way to limit it to 1 per household, they don't both pay taxes, they pay the same taxes per
Right.
household.
Yeah,
That's just my thought.
yeah,
Because if you
Yeah,
have
I'm
2,
not on the CRCRC, so.
yeah.
there could be one person who, one single homeowner, and then you are doubling it if it's married couple versus a single.
Well, and there's a lot of,
person,
I'm
widow,
trying to get
something
my
like that.
husband to fill this out, he probably wouldn't,
Yeah.
so he just wouldn't make the time
Yeah.
for it, so it's not
I'm-
gonna be that, everybody's gonna fill it out.
I don't expect that we're gonna get the response that the comprehensive plan did. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that too. I think that people, whenever they did the comprehensive plan, they thought they were doing what we're doing now too. It was all inclusive, and that the decisions to not do the residential portion of it actually kind of came later.
Well, and this also isn't again, this isn't policy. Nobody's making a decision over what is gonna happen in code. It's, should we look at these things? So I think, I could see an argument for just 1 per household, because it's not,
Yeah.
it's very specific.
Well, we
Yeah.
are, asking right up front, if there's an appetite here for change or doing anything
Yeah.
about what we see. And if there's no appetite there, then this is gonna be a short committee. It won't last very long.
I have-
But we'll know that.
Everybody's
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. we'll
And
know.
I have one more question,
Yeah.
sort of broadly related to that.
Yeah.
Is that I think at the end of the day, what we want is to be able to take the data and say, people are saying yes or they're saying no. And I think we have too many I don't know, need more info, not sure. And I wanna kinda go through this and figure out where can we eliminate that? Because it's just not gonna actually give us the answer that we want.
I can tell you, I took a first pass at exactly that.
Okay.
There are a number of them that are missing now.
Okay,
There
good.
used to be a lot of I don't knows and
Yeah,
not sures, and a
Perfect.
lot of, and I've changed a bunch of them to need more info, and then taken a bunch just out,
perfect.
you know?
Okay.
But knock yourself out if there's more that needs to come
Well,
out.
oh,
do
you
it.
mean in this
Take 'em out.
copy, you've
Sure,
already
take 'em
taken it out?
Take 'em
Okay,
out.
yeah, I think there's more that can come out.
Okay, that's fine.
Especially with the comments, that gives people an opportunity to kind of elucidate what it is they're thinking as well.
Okay, well then that asks the question then, are we gonna require a yes and no for every question? You know how some surveys are, they don't let you move on unless you answer the question.
Well, nobody has to answer the questions. They could say everything's fine and that's the end of their survey, so, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
What?
No, I mean, that's, I don't think we're gonna tie anybody down to, okay, you
Right.
know, you didn't answer that one, you can't proceed to the next. Hey, we're gonna get the we're gonna get the feedback we're gonna get, and then we're gonna look at it and try to illuminate what we can and try to garner conclusions, et cetera. I'm not gonna get all that wound up about, man, is it a perfect survey? It's
Yeah.
not ever gonna be perfect, and as I said last time, I thought it was a great start, you know, and I think we probably improved on it. And, you know, if I remember projects that I did in school, we spent half our time trying to tweak 3 or 4% out of, and that was the stupidest time ever spent. So I don't wanna go there,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay?
okay. Okay.
I'm sorry for that soapbox statement, but that's.
I think that was a great.
Well, I think we'd hoped we'd get this out at our last meeting. That was the plan, but here we
Yeah.
are.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think it does actually read a little bit better than it did then.
Yeah.
And there are a couple more questions in there that weren't there before. So, okay, do you,
I mean, could we give them, take out the need more info and just give them the option to skip the question? It's gonna get the same
Sure.
result,
I mean, if that's what we wanna do, then that's fine, yeah.
but you need more info is not a helpful response for us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask a question. Did we make a final sort of suggestion about 2 per household, or,
I think we did.
okay, then why don't we just go through question by question and figure out who's got some input on
Okay.
what's here? I know it's a little grindy, but we'll probably get there pretty quick.
There's only 25 questions.
Okay? I mean, hey, we're gonna skip some of them.
Well, some of Alex's questions were kind of like overviewy kind of things. you know,
Yeah,
kind of
that
general
was-
questions
yeah.
about the whole thing. And I know that a lot of Jeff's discussion's been kind of in general. Are we done with general discussion right now? We can do exactly what
Yeah.
Duke
Do you
is
have any
suggesting here.
general comments?
I think we're gonna answer those
No.
general questions as we
Okay.
go.
Okay. Well, then let's do that. Let's go with question 1. Are you generally comfortable with the trend in new construction in Rowanwood? Please mention what you do or don't like about the building trends. Be specific. Now, we had fixed that up so that it was comfortable, not happy.
I'm good. I check mark it.
I like it.
You like it?
Yep.
You good? All right, 1 down. Do you think Rowanwood should consider changes to the building codes? Please mention what you do or don't like about the building codes. Be specific. If you are not sure, the rest of the survey may help clarify current codes. Is there any more
Well-
that can be said to that?
Yeah, well, scratch out, need more info.
Yeah, I agree.
Scratch it out. Okay, it's fine. Okay?
Back, just a general comment. When we get the answers, we may not be able to see what they responded to when we look at the comment. So I think we're gonna wanna figure out a way, when we administer the survey, so that you concatenate the 2 fields, It's just a general thing, because if someone's answering the comment, they're assuming you know their answer to the
Maybe we
question.
can make it like question 1, question 1A, something like that, so that
Oh,
if the technology won't allow
Yeah.
us to concatenate.
But don't
Yeah.
you want to be able to tie the yes to the comment and the no to the comment to
yeah,
understand
it's just
why?
it's more for us on the. We just need to make
Yeah.
sure when whatever company we use, that we can manipulate the data so that when we're analyzing, we lump the yeses together and the nos together when we're reviewing the comments.
So what we need, okay, we've already decided on anonymity, right? What it sounds like we're going to need is to be able to at least tie all the answers to the questions to individual surveys, even if we don't have a name. Right? So that this body of work all hangs together, as opposed to all the questions 1, all the questions 2, all the questions 3.
And
you know,
that's
they
what we
just
got
sit right
last
there.
time. Remember, the comments were all jumbled together for the question. Yeah, and we want the whole data set all together. in
Yes.
One. Yep.
Well, we want the samples to hang together.
Yeah.
Okay? So we're gonna take a note on that. That's
Yeah.
it, okay?
If we can't, this is my point from earlier. We need to know the administration survey, because if they can't provide that to us, we may need to redesign the questions in a way where
We'll be right back here where we are in a couple of weeks.
the entries will.
Oh, what is the time frame? How long do people
Yeah.
have to respond?
Well,
That seems like a general
why don't we
question.
see how long it takes us to get through here? and- Okay.
No, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
I-
do they have 3 weeks? Do they have a month? Like, overall?
Oh,
Not,
Oh, that's a good question.
Given that it's the summer and we're going into August, I would recommend we don't do it any sooner than the end of August. That we wouldn't expect them back any sooner than that. Okay?
when?
The end of August.
Oh. I mean, given the seasonal participation through the month of August, I would say it might be extended. Middle of September or something. I mean,
So
a lot
schools
of people are
start
gonna be
mid.
calling it then, between now and August 20th.
Yeah, schools start mid-August.
What day does school start?
Well,
The 16th.
okay, I think regardless, why don't we put it this way? We don't have the survey out yet. Once we get the survey out, how long after that?
Yeah.
Is it a 3-week problem or a 2-week problem or a 1-week problem? What is it?
I think our goal is to get it out mid-August and
10
then
weeks.
give them through.
What do you say?
What do you say?
I
She said
recommend 10 days.
10
10
days.
days.
People forget about it.
Okay,
2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
all right, keep it shorter. Okay, so, we don't know when we're gonna be able to get this out yet, okay?
Okay.
But if 10 days is does 10 days seem reasonable to everybody?
It does. Again, it is a tricky month because a lot of people are doing a lot of stuff before school starts. Maybe they have time to do it, maybe they don't. But maybe it is better once school starts to start the clock. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I wouldn't start the clock before
Okay.
mid-August, but
Yeah.
what I'm weighing, Alex, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do we make sure that some of the time spills into September,
Mm.
or because if you start in mid-August to late August, that means
Mm-hmm.
you could undermine a bit of the credibility of this, where we're like, oh, they did it in August when no one's
Well,
around. And,
Okay, then we could come up with at least a straw man date right now.
yeah.
When,
It's Labor Day's the first
we're gonna
weekend.
work to getting the survey out in its completed form on August 20th or
Mhm.
August 25th
Yeah.
or what?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Is late
So
August,
you're thinking
early
late
September.
August, early September.
Yeah.
10 days.
We might need that much time to get the administration.
I bet you we
all
do.
sorted out anyway, right?
I'll bet we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and by that time, we'll have a city council meeting, so if we need to get funds approved, we can get it done.
Okay.
If that has to happen.
When is that meeting?
Usually, when city council?
No, August 16th.
August
Okay.
16th, there you go.
That's
You might not wanna let this 10-day survey run over the Labor Day weekend too. You might wanna do it before or after.
When is Labor Day this
It's
year?
the September fourth,
First week of September.
Monday, September fourth.
Right. Gets more complexer and more complexer.
It's gonna be really funny when we get the same number of surveys filled out that we have as emails
Right.
emailed to us. So it'll be
Well-
those same 75 people just giving us a little more information.
And again, this survey isn't like, you know, anything that's gonna be set in stone. It's just, do we or don't we look at this or that? So
Mhm.
I think
It's pretty easy to fill
we're
out.
maybe overthinking it a little too much.
Yeah,
So-
you could fill this out in 15 minutes. if you
Yeah.
wanted to.
September 4th is actually Labor Day. That means that the second, third, and fourth are really Labor Day.
Yeah, the whole weekend people
Yeah.
will leave.
So if we shoot for the 25th, that may not be a good idea.
What about right after the council meeting? School starts on the 16th. What if we send it out 21st
Let's shoot
of
for the
Monday?
It's probably a more realistic day.
Hmm?
More realistic.
What?
21st?
Okay.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Just
I
curious.
just think we need to be sensitive to the school calendar and all that, and Labor Day, yada, yada, yada.
When folks travel, would they, in theory, be able to get the survey and fill it out? Is that something we think is possible for someone who's gone for that 10-day period?
Well, digitally, yeah, I think so.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
possible. And the folks who don't access email probably aren't traveling as much, so maybe they're covered too.
So what is the method of communication? Do you send out a card? Do you send out an email? Do you know, to let people know that the survey is available? How does that?
Depends on how it's administered. I mean,
Yeah.
when we use SurveyMonkey, it just all comes in an email.
Okay, so everybody gets an email. Does everybody have an email? Like, it's just like,
I don't think that's true.
okay.
We do have a lot from our,
So-
Michaela might be able to speak to that, our rave. We have a lot of the citizen emails from that.
Okay, so we could figure out who they are and maybe try and drop them off. I don't know.
And this is what I was mentioning to
Yeah.
chat with Tom, because he was always focused on the water bill, right?
Mm,
That might be a good way to do it. If you're open to public comment, I can answer this question.
We're certainly
Please.
open to public comment.
Amy Patillo, 3 Rockaway Cove. I know how important this issue actually is to Tom, so if I get it wrong in any way, I'm sure he'll correct me, but I knew that it was very important to Tom that every person in the city receive a postcard that was handed to them that provided them with information about the survey. And so I can't remember exactly how he got the groups together, but I know that he had targeted areas of the neighborhood with people who went out and made sure that every residence was handed a postcard. I remember getting my postcard. So.
well, not everybody, I mean, like in their mailbox?
No, he had them handed out. So
Okay.
if you didn't get one, maybe they weren't able.
Did
maybe
they
you weren't
leave
there
it
when
at
they
your
came by.
doorstep? Because I can't imagine
Yes.
everybody's at home at the
Yeah.
same time.
But I remember that being very important to him, that there was an opportunity for something to have been dropped off at every home.
Okay.
But I don't remember all of the elements of how he administered it.
Yeah, getting Tom into the conversation is difficult right now. But thank
to the,
you.
to the extent that I know that it was very important to him
Okay.
to use lots of different forms of communication to make sure people knew there was a survey they could fill out.
Okay.
That was one of them.
Desiree, when's Ashley going to be back?
She'll be back on the 9th of August,
9th of August. Okay.
but I mean, we can do postcards.
There may be, yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any process questions that we can ask her that we may not
What
have.
do you need to know?
I'm
When
sorry.
you say
Nikki and I send postcards a lot, so what do you need to know?
when you send them, what do you mean? You mail them out?
Yes, we mail them out.
And so, Ms. Patillo, when you mentioned Tom's process, was it not mailing them? Was it was going door to door,
Yeah.
saying hi, handing them? So what I'm curious, and this is why I was asking about access to Tom, is do we think that he intended for us to do that? Like, who did he intend on handing out the postcards door to door?
I never heard anything about this, so this is all new to me. I
Yeah.
got it digitally, so whenever I did it. So nobody handed me
And I
anything.
do think it's worth noting, I think I heard that the postcards, it's like $1,200 every time you send them out, so that's just something to be, I don't know that everybody's aware of that.
Yeah. Why don't we continue to go through the questions?
Okay.
And then, you know, there are gonna be some logistical things here that I know that we're gonna wanna handle.
Yep,
And we may just not be able to do that this evening.
all right.
That's it, okay?
Sorry.
So, I think we were on question 2. Okay, need more info is struck out of question 2. Were there any other comments on question 2?
No,
Okay. Question 3 is Rolling Wood maximum residential height too high, not high enough, about right. Comments?
should
That-
it be Rolling Woods? Apostrophe S?
Should,
Should it be Rolling Woods? Maximum resident, or are we fine with it being singular? Do we wanna worry about those things later?
oh, you mean make it, yeah, okay, we can put
Apostrophe
apostrophe
S.
S there. Thank you. Thanks, I missed it.
Well, hey, I flunked English, so I'm okay. That's why I was in architecture school.
I think I'm okay with that. I
Okay.
mean, it's,
Yes.
Q3, Q4. Or, okay.
wait a second, wait, but backing up, in the lead up to question 4,
Right.
you have, this measurement approach was adopted in the 1980s when public desire for higher ceilings, blah, blah, blah. Should we cite the reference for that, like according to,
That was according to Tom.
okay. I just don't know, do we need a,
I don't think we,
okay,
What we used to have in there is that it was being driven by, the need to have, drainage fields, and, that went away. Tom said that wasn't true.
okay.
He said it's actually about building, or about
Okay.
ceiling height, that's what drove it.
The next sentence below that, there are many ways to determine blah, blah, blah. I think the very end of that sentence after the word footprint should say on existing grade. So,
Okay.
the average elevation of a building footprint on existing grade, so just,
Okay. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Anything else there? Okay, so
I,
about the next page, going
Sorry.
on there, another approach to build a height.
still, yeah, so I was wondering,
So on the prior page, just
Oh.
a comment, I mean, I'm okay keeping it, but there are many ways to determine a reference date of an established building height on a sloped lot, and many cities use either an average of the slope or average elevation of the building footprint. Is that a bit leading?
Okay, help me find that. Were we
it's
at?
where we just were
Okay.
when I added on existing grade.
Many city, what, in many cities use? You don't know?
Well, many cities use either an average of the slope or average elevation of the building footprint.
I think it is more typical, and so I don't know how you, because I think it's like letting people know that this is what kind of generally most cities do.
Mhm.
I think that's the intent, but
Mhm.
I'm fine with modifying how we say it.
You know, it's a funny thing. One of the things I've done in the interim between meetings here is I went back and read the codes all the way back to 1987 here that are stored in Ashley's office. And in the 1987 code, there are 2 references to the measurement of building height. This one that we are looking at here comes from that code, okay? But there is another one in a different part of the code that talks about going straight up from the average. It's an average. And I don't know how they reconciled that during any kind of consideration, but both measurements were in there. And I can point, well, I didn't bring, I made copies of it and it's up in my house, but,
Well, in
Yes, we-
85, the building height was 30 feet. I know that for a fact, because that
Well,
house is
what are
Yeah.
you
under
thinking?
30
Is
feet.
it?
well, the 87
More
code
just-
that's
I
in her
mean,
office
I don't
does
know if it-
35.
I don't know
not
if it would
35.
better
Yeah,
So then it really
serve
would
just
change
taking
the
a sentence
names.
out.
yeah.
Well,
it
I
was
think we
changed.
have to,
All right.
yeah, I mean, I think the intent was, this is what Rollingwood does.
Mhm.
This is
What
generally
others do.
what other cities do.
Mhm.
Should we look at doing, it's like, I think one thing that, one of my notes was, Rollingwood has really two methods to determine its reference datum, whereas other cities just have one. And I don't know if it's worth saying that.
Maybe
so
more
that
directly.
it's kind of streamlines the process. It's
Yeah.
unified under one method as opposed to kind of two.
So, really what's trying to happen here, and if you go to the question, it is, should we look at alternate ways to calculate the reference date? And that's really kind of the crux of it. You know, there's a way to do this, and there's a different way to do it, and there's another way to do it. Now, if you're unhappy with the situation, do you want us to look at alternate ways of doing this? That's really the question. And if not, if you're happy with the way that it was, then the answer is no. It's fine. Just leave it alone.
Okay. I think I'm okay with it. I mean, to me, it's a bit leading, but you're also providing background information, which honestly, if I wasn't in all these meetings, I wouldn't know any of this. So we're just trying to find the balance.
Yeah.
So I think I'm okay with it.
Do you think it's worth the comment I just made about Rollingwood uses two different methods to determine if it's reference datum? You know, we looked at other cities that use just a unified method. Is it worth saying anything like that or not? Is that
Okay,
leading?
Help me understand the two different methods that we have.
Well, I just mean that you can take your reference, your point from, you know, the high point or the low point. And so, I don't know that method is the right word.
See, I would never say there's two different methods. There's just a formula you work by.
Okay,
And it's part A or part B.
yeah. But to me, I think that sounds like a little bit of the crux of the problem is maybe having more consistency, like a, you know.
Well, no, again, for me, from what I've heard, and I'm, like I said a long time ago, man, I cheated my clients because I didn't game the system as well as I should. But because the zoning ordinance says one thing about where the datum reference is, and you go to the International Building Code, and or International Residential Code, and it says another, and you can claim that and use it, I think there's a problem. We need to get rid of that. We need to say our zoning ordinance supersedes everything said, done, over with. Okay? That's it.
So do you think that it's worth even discussing reference datum or measuring reference datum?
Well, I think it's fine to just leave it in there the way it is,
In the survey or in the code?
in the survey.
Okay.
And then we work on the reference datum.
We'll work on the code
Because
later.
I just
That
think
comes
that,
later.
you know,
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure
wherever we
where
let
it was.
people
Yeah.
claim that the building code took precedent over our zoning ordinance, we made a mistake.
Okay. Then so question 4, scratch out need more info and check mark?
Okay.
Is that?
I honestly think that this is where the need more info is really a good idea, but that's okay. I won't fight it.
Yes, I
This is-
agree.
yeah,
I
this is the
agree,
point.
but we're
This
not
is the
gonna
point.
get an
But
answer.
they can do that in comments.
Yeah.
They can do that. That's right. You're
We-
right. That's right.
We
Okay.
can. I think it's important to let folks skip the question, in which case need more
Okay.
info is.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just curious. What do you intend on doing? Like, let's say that 90% said need more info. What would we
Yeah.
do with that
I
information?
guess we kind of
Exactly.
failed in
That's the
being able to
issue.
describe the situation.
Yeah.
We do
That's
another
what it
survey.
means, yeah.
Yeah.
Do survey number 2.
The fact that we've shown them these other approaches is an assistance, a help to try to
Yeah.
avoid need more info. I
Okay.
mean, we can't answer everything through this.
Well, and again, like should we look at alternate ways to calculate the reference datum? Someone might say yes, but that doesn't then mean that it should be changed. It just means we should look at it, you know? So you might then say, you know.
Oh, I think it's okay. I think if you look at it, I think that means that it's going to end up with some sort of an opinion coming out of the other side.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to read into it that deeply. The answer is if you're not completely satisfied with the way things currently are, should we be thinking about alternates?
Mhm.
That's it.
Well, and even just looking at it, if you say yes, it doesn't guarantee that anything, if the majority of people say yes, it doesn't mean that we'll actually come up with anything better. So it's just that we looked at it. So, okay.
Okay?
It
No.
guides us on where to spend our time.
Let's move.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Q5, should we measure the maximum height of the home with a flat roof differently from one with a pitched roof?
It's a good question. I like that
Question, get rid of need more info.
Get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah,
No
yeah, we don't
problem.
need it.
No problem. Okay, Florida area ratios, let's see, that's that whole thing, FAR.
I was wondering, underneath the graphic, there's a sentence that says the ratio of building footprint to lot size is another way to measure what percentage of a lot is occupied by a building. Does that need a graphic? Or no? Just maybe the math or something from the previous graphic. I don't know. Or if it's fine. I'm just
Do
asking.
you have a graphic to stick in there?
I
do
can make
not.
one if you have one in mind.
I do
I'm
not have
okay,
one.
then let's skip it.
So for 6, do we want to ask the question? Because I actually think it depends on what we think about the other areas first. Because to me, this is like more technical,
Mhm.
and I want to learn about the objectives of the community through the survey. And FAR is just one of many options that we have.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're asking them to be prescriptive and do our job for us when we ask question 6, when in reality, I really want to know what their objectives are. What are the specific complaints? Because FAR doesn't actually address anything directly.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking we want to take that question out and we think about it at the end once we see everything else. Because I mean,
So the whole thing on FAR comes out, or do you just leave it as a point
Sorry.
of education?
I'm just thinking. I'm just putting myself in the community's shoes. I would be hesitant to say yes on this because I don't know what I'm saying yes to. Yeah, it's like a blanket. Yeah, you can introduce FAR, but what are the levels that you're going to put it at? I mean,
Well, do you want to say something different where you don't say FAR? Should we
we could.
consider some sort of measurement tools for the building size relative to lot size? Like, I don't know.
I mean, it says FAR and/or building footprint to lot size ratio.
Oh, yeah.
There's the real focus, building footprint to lot size ratio. FAR happens to be a tool to get that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys can tweak all you want about the language. I think that question's important, and
Okay.
it needs to stay
You want to keep
there.
it? Okay. Let's keep it.
I've heard
Okay.
it said way too many times. I think it's something we need to think about. I don't know where we're gonna land, but I think it's something we're gonna talk about seriously.
Okay. Let's keep it in.
Not take the need more info out? Is that what everybody?
Yeah, take the need more info out.
All right.
I did have a comment, like, should it be evaluated only on the square footage starting at the second level and above?
I don't think we need to
That's-
grind over that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Because,
I think that's
listen,
phase 2 of
the
this, yeah.
FAR,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
when we get down to
Yeah.
talking about that as a serious possibility,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to define what the square footage is
Yeah.
that really gets put into the equation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Is that
That's,
garages? Is that storage areas? Is that, who knows what it
Right.
is?
I agree with you 100%. I don't think we want to get too detailed in this.
Sounds good.
We'll get lost in the weeds. Setbacks, okay. This is great.
Let's have some. Let's
Yeah,
add
well,
some
setbacks, I'm good, yeah.
So-
Yeah, yes to setbacks. Are Rolling Woods current setbacks too large, too small, about right? Is there any more about that that needs?
Yeah, when I'm answering 7, I don't know what I'm answering. So
Really?
I think we want to break that out for side, front, and rear.
Mm.
I'm sorry, say again, I don't
Sure,
understand.
He
sure.
wants
So
to
what if I
question
think
for
that
each
the
setback.
side setbacks are too small and the rear setbacks are too big and front setback, like, you know,
Yeah.
you need a little more flexibility in the response.
Well, there's where your comments come in. Really,
Okay.
you know, if we start talking about side setbacks versus rear setbacks and all that, I don't really think we're gonna get what we want. Everybody knows that things are being built to the lot line or to the setback line. And that's really what we're trying to fathom out. What is the appetite for making some changes here that keep that from happening? So, I like the question. And two, I really like the graphic because I think most people don't even know what a setback really is. They think they do, but they don't.
Would we consider giving an option for FAR or setbacks? Like if someone is like, I think generally I want to do something, but I don't want to be too prescriptive with setbacks, you know, and I want to give more flexibility to the architects and just have it based on FAR, not setbacks.
Well, then you can probably just say no to setbacks and yes to FAR.
That's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can kind of tailor your response. That's fair.
Okay.
And I don't have a problem with Jeff's comment about the specifics of, let's have a yes, no, or maybe
Mhm.
on each setback, but I think for the simplicity of the first blush, let's just make it, let's keep it all.
Keep it high
one.
level. Keep it high level. This
I
survey.
got a
Okay.
feeling that if someone's really got an issue with, for instance, side setbacks, they're gonna
They're
put it
gonna
in the
make it.
comment.
I agree.
They're
Yeah.
gonna say it.
Okay.
Okay, so are we finished with question 7?
Yep.
No, let's, can we be more descriptive about that in the instructions? What you just described.
To say, please elaborate on what issues you have with a
Mhm.
setback?
Yeah, is there a way to do that concisely?
We can do that. We had done that earlier on at the first 2 questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a specific thing that you know, please note, we can do that here.
Well, you could have a list, front, side, corner, rear, and then too large, too small, about right
I
for
don't
each
like
one.
that. I
Okay,
don't like
I'm
that.
just trying to follow
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Something
Yeah.
under the
conversation.
comment that's,
Yeah.
gives you an opportunity to isolate
Yeah.
one setback over another.
You would want to do that like this, and this, like that?
I don't.
Is that a thought? Is that your thought?
I'm not the structure person here. I'm just saying, hey, if you want to get a little more, I'm trying to make Jeff happy in terms of, because I think there's value in that. If there's a specific comment about, oh, it's the front setback, everything else is good, but man, the front setback is terrible, whatever it is, we sort of try to entice them to comment or make a statement under the comment aspect about that.
Yeah, I like the
And I don't
brevity.
know what that is.
I like the brevity of the survey. I like how it's quick and punchy. I like that.
Yeah.
So maybe just a few words about providing more details in the comments.
Okay,
Well, maybe under comments.
Let's not leave it until we
just-
get to where we want to be. Where do we
Maybe
want it
under
to be?
comments, it's, front, side, and see if they make a comment under any of those 4 categories.
Well, and early on we say, in the question, be specific. And so I think we could say, are Rollingwood current setbacks, or how do you feel about Rollingwood's current setbacks? And, clarify specifically.
Please clarify in the comments.
Please clarify specifically which setbacks.
That's what I like,
Okay,
Yeah.
which is what we did in the first 2 questions.
yeah,
Okay.
so.
So, you good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Which is,
Putting it up here where we say, please provide please clarify your statement or give additional detail in the
Yeah.
comments field,
Right.
okay?
Yes. Jeff, is that good?
Yeah, so we
Oh,
could
yeah.
say, like, please clarify.
I don't want you to later go, oh, I got boxed out on that.
No. Well, let's just leave it for now, but not leave it, but we will edit
I'm
that
joking.
one specifically so that it
Mhm.
incorporates that. We may not come up with the wording right now. Does that seem good?
Yeah,
Okay.
but, yeah. Okay,
Just to
recently
keep
passed
moving on.
amendment, okay.
So how's that gonna read?
Well, I was thinking I would do it later, but
Okay.
I'll work on it.
No, that's fine.
Well,
Do
y'all
it.
move on to the
Okay, are
next
we
one.
deciding, okay, are you gonna take this then? Are you taking the next draft, Alex?
Yes.
All right,
You want me to do the edits?
I do,
Yeah, that'd be great.
I do. You're killing me. Okay. Okay, recent past, let's see, amendments to residential 33. Are the setback projection limits described above
Specify.
too much, too little, or about right? This has to do with, how we would, and this was Brooke's comment, that she didn't agree with the way we had portrayed it originally about what was allowed to be in the setback and what the rules used to be versus what they are today. We had public comment on this stuff before this became part of the ordinance, but I don't know that everybody really understood that. I think it sits just fine the way it is,
I think so.
okay?
It's informative too.
Okay. Any more around question 8? Anything else?
I'm good.
Good, good, all right. Okay, what's up, large building, length, okay. Should we consider limitations which build along the setbacks?
Sorry,
Question
going back
9.
to 8. What am I responding to? Am I responding to the recently passed amendment?
That's right.
Can we clarify that?
Well, are
Are
the setback projection
limits
described above too much, too little, or about right?
So the
I think.
last sentence that I'm reading is, prior to this amendment, the code accepted these types of building extensions from setback limits, thus allowing unlimited encroachment of projections into setbacks. And then you read, are the setback projection limits described above? So you just described two things, and then you're asking me about the description. Well, which thing are you asking me to comment on for 8? And I think this needs to be clear to 100% of the people, or else you're going to corrupt the results. So I don't think it's clear. I had to ask the question. Someone else is going to have the same question.
Can you help us get clear?
Yeah, we just have to say instead of described above, are the setback projection limits as described under the current amendment, or something like that.
Okay, I'd be good with that.
Are the setback projection limits under the most recent amendment? Something like that.
Okay,
I'm not the English
I think that
major,
was
but-
the intent anyway,
Yes.
yeah.
Alex, have you got some adequate input for that edit?
We're still talking about question 8 or question
Yeah.
7?
Yes.
No,
8.
I'm letting y'all, I'm good with whatever y'all are.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not the best with
Oh,
grammar, but
okay.
my request is that question 8
Uh-huh.
be specific about
Yeah.
pointing to the recent amendment
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
instead of when we say described above, you're describing two different options.
Right. I was
previously.
listening to the whole thing.
Okay,
And I
got
was
it.
totally I thought y'all were doing a good job of resolving it.
Well, I wanted you to have
But
some
you're the
input
one who's
gonna
to
write this.
Be able
Yeah.
to edit this.
Oh, right.
Don't forget, you're writing.
That part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
we
I
want
thought
to make
were
sure you
right.
understand what we just decided.
All right. Okay.
All right?
All right.
Good. Any more on 8? Okay, let's move to 9. Should we consider, Okay, there's a description there about what's allowed to be built along the setback. Should we consider any limitations on what can be built along the setback? Is there any more discussion around that?
I think it's a great question. Need more info, we can just scratch it. Because
Yeah.
it's so soft. Should we
Scratch
consider,
that.
you know,
Yeah.
anyone can decide if we should consider it.
Please be specific. We'll put that in there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, in the comments, sure.
Sure, yeah, or,
Yeah.
yeah, no, we said, should we consider it? Please be specific in the comments, right?
Sure.
Okay. Good. Got that, Alex?
Got it.
Cool. All right, and then we've got tenting here. And I took the reference to the McMansion ordinance out of there.
Thank you.
Okay, and, but I think that the graphic does a really good job of kind of letting you know what's
Mhm.
trying to happen here,
Mhm.
you know? So,
I think it's great.
okay, so
Yeah, it's good. It's a
we
good
can take the
question.
need more info out. I think
Mhm.
it illustrates what it is that, what might be trying to happen,
Yeah.
okay?
Should we
Yeah.
be starting the sentence with the word like?
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Yeah. How about just get rid of that whole like building heights and setback and start with buildable area can also be restricted?
Okay,
Is
sure,
that,
Sure.
okay.
okay. Just that, he doesn't like the way it starts.
It's City of Austin, capitalized city.
It's the way, I was kind of thinking about it as a documentary, you know?
Yeah, this question 12, I think, needs rewording.
How,
And I
Alex,
hadn't-
how are you thinking
Wait,
about
sorry, why don't we-
starting that part?
Oh,
You jumped the question.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I sure did. I would
Bless you.
scratch out like building heights and setbacks, and I would start with buildable area can also be restricted using a set of angled plane geometric constraints.
Okay. Cool.
All right, okay, good.
I just kind of wanted to follow what you're thinking.
Okay. All right.
Okay, Rolling Wood has, okay, about the number of stories. The question I actually posed to Tom was, he believes that there was an ordinance passed sometime that restricted the number of stories to 3. And I can't find it anywhere in the code. And whenever Ashley gets back, I'm gonna see if we can dig any deeper into code that might be stored at Iron Mountain or something like that. But I can't find any indication at all that there's ever been a limit on the number of stories allowed in Rolling Wood. So, assuming that we don't find something, I think that this question stands just right.
I like it.
Scratch, need more info?
Yeah.
And then
Get rid of that, okay, that's fine.
the grammar of the first sentence, that last. So Rollingwood has a few 3 or 4 story homes that are built or in permitting, some with an additional roof lookout, still within the maximum allowable height requirements. I would put a period at the end of it, after lookout,
Okay.
and then just that last little bit, create a new sentence. I don't know, I think it just flows a little better.
Let's see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Or just put a period somewhere in that sentence.
Yeah,
To break it up a bit.
So you just wanna smith that a little
Well,
bit and
let's
make
see.
it,
Or how
Yeah.
about
yeah.
we
But
just
still
say
fall within, I
these
feel like.
proposed projects still fall within the maximum allowable height
Mhm.
requirements?
Yeah, that works. I like the content.
Okay.
I think it's needed.
Yeah.
To be clear, you're not answering about height. I think that's the main thing.
Well, and I think it's important to note, because some people have said no 3 or 4 story homes, but they're all still within the height limit, so there's nothing about them that's not, to code, just because there's multiple
Mhm.
stories, so, but the perception changes and the impacts change, so, but it's important to note that, I just think that, I don't know, I think it's a little bit challenging to say, well, anyway, I think it's important to note that they're still within the height limit, so you can kind of do whatever you want within there.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
just said it, period.
Mhm.
As Jeff suggested, these proposed projects still meet the maximum allowable height requirements.
Okay, got it.
Now, do you think we're gonna just end up having all the people who say, yes, I want you to do something on height, say, yes, I want you to do something on stories? And then what happens if you have more people who say you have more people say they wanna do something about stories than people wanna do something about height? You know, keeping the height the same, but limiting the number of stories, and then now all of a sudden you have 20-foot, stories.
That's why you were on this committee. That's it. We're gonna make that decision. We're gonna decide what's more important, stories or height.
Okay.
I think,
Just as long as it's clear to
Yeah,
folks
we'll see.
that they're
Yeah.
not responding on height.
yeah,
Is that,
Right.
Okay.
is this clear?
Do you wanna say
It's
something
all
about
about
that?
stories.
Or,
That question's all about stories
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it
It's clear.
actually says number of stories at the top of the,
yeah, it does.
Yep.
doesn't talk about height.
Yep.
But yeah, we can clarify to say.
I mean,
that
the no is trying to get there. It says no limit to the number of stories provided that the residence meets all code requirements.
Yeah,
So it, hopefully,
yeah.
folks think about it a bit when they fill it out.
Okay. So you're gonna submit that, I guess, then, Alex?
I'll do my best.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. The circular driveways, this is a thing that has been kind of sticking in my craw, and it has to do, and the reason, I explained this to Alex the other day. The reason why I wanted to get this in there is I've been to a number of city council meetings and board of adjustment meetings where people with corner lots have come in and asked to do this. And they've been told, no, they can't do this kind of thing, they can't cut between streets for no other reason than that there's an ordinance there that says they can't do it. That's the only reason that they can't do it. And nobody seemed to be able to get past this. I live in a corner lot and I don't really care too much about this, I'll never do this. But it does seem to me that it's arbitrary. And I do know that there's at least 2 instances in Rowanwood where this has been possible, evidently before this ordinance was written, so I drew the thing like it is, and either
This is
you
why
like
we're
it or
here.
you don't.
Yeah. This
Huh?
is why we're here. We should absolutely ask this question.
Yeah, just ask the question.
Yeah.
Do you want me to make a new graphic?
You don't like this one?
Well, I can clean it up a little
I'm
bit.
kind
It's
of-
part of the editing process.
I worked so hard on this.
Oh, it looks good. I'll leave it.
If you can make it
If
better, by all means
you
do.
are happy, I could maybe add some color,
Ooh, that
just to show the
would be lovely.
land
You want to put
parts.
some bushes in there too?
Well,
But
not
okay.
that far.
Look,
Just-
this is not part of our discussion now,
Yeah.
but the real key to this from a technical standpoint is where that approach is gonna align from a distance setback to the actual corner. Okay, cause
Yeah.
if it enters or exits too close
Mhm.
to the corner,
Mhm.
you're gonna create chaos from a
What's the
traffic
limit
standpoint.
right
But,
now?
but there are already rules on that, as far as
Okay.
where you're allowed to put your driveway,
And-
even if it was a single entrance.
And if that, well, I'm just saying
Yeah.
that if that is a controlling factor that helps, eliminate the disaster of being too close to the corner, good, we got it.
So like a
we got it
circular
going.
driveway in this first graphic, there's a set limit from where the edge of that driveway is to the corner.
There is.
Okay, so you would
Yes.
just maintain that.
Yeah, you have to maintain that. And then there's a 35-foot requirement between the 2 center points on the circular driveway.
I might make these to scale. so
That's
that
cool.
Yeah, 'cause
I
the
was
one-
kidding. I was kidding.
Okay.
You do what you want to do with my graphic.
The not
Here's-
okay is further from the corner than the okay one.
Yeah, so
here's
scale,
how
scale
Alex
matters.
is gonna make it better.
I know it.
I'm sorry.
Get over
It was a
it.
good start.
I'll sleep okay tonight. I know. I'm going to do it. All right.
I do have a question. The second sentence, a driveway that cuts across corner lots from one street to the intersection street is not allowed. Is it, that intersection word is tripping me up. Should it be intersecting or something else? Or is intersection fine?
Actually, I believe
From one
that
street
phrase
could
was
be
taken directly
intersecting.
from the code.
Okay,
I
well then,
believe that's the way it's written.
a driveway that cuts
Um,
across corner lots from one street to the
I'm just wondering if
intersection
it should be
street is not
intersection or
allowed.
intersecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The inter- I feel like it should be.
You're probably right.
Intersecting.
Intersecting.
I don't know.
But I think if you look in the code, you're gonna find those words.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever y'all think.
Their frontages, if you're wondering. Each one of those streets is frontage on a corner lot.
So, do we need to add that word somewhere?
You could.
So what should we say? Instead of street, we say frontage? Is that what you're
So
saying?
a driveway, let's see.
I think
Um,
frontage just confuses everybody.
Yeah, driveway that cuts across corner lots from one street frontage to
Street
the other street
frontage.
is not allowed.
To the other street frontage. I like that better, thank you.
But somehow, but using the word frontages, because when you're
Okay.
talking about your setbacks or your yards, you have two frontages on
Yeah,
the lot.
yeah.
When you're on one
I
lot.
think that makes more sense.
Can I also comment?
Yeah.
On the bias, from a bias perspective, the
Uh-huh.
okay and not okay, you probably just have like diagram A and diagram B or something like that.
That's a very good
One
point.
is corner lot with
Allowed or not allowed or
Yeah,
something like
okay.
that.
Anything.
Current, yeah.
But
Thank you,
and
Desiree.
If someone just scans it and they see, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, this is the, like, we haven't been immersed in it. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like one of those things where you're so immersed in it, you don't see anything else but
I
how
like
it
it.
is.
Yeah.
And then you take a step back and you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
wow.
Yep.
Missed that
So,
one. Yep.
those just
Helpful. Chime in.
And here I am, I
anytime.
was so proud of this question.
small things.
Okay,
And now you're more
We're
proud.
not killing the question. It's just,
okay.
He's
All
more
right.
proud now.
Do.
Dave, what's your favorite question? Which one are you most proud of?
All right, should we consider, and I wanted to leave that open enough so if anybody had any issues with any other driveway issues, this is a place to say it.
okay, I do think
Okay.
that back to question 12, the whole wording of it is a little bit, let's see, should we reconsider code limitations placed on driveways in general? And the rule that disallows a corner lot circular driveway that connects two streets. See, I'm
Cut it in
gone.
half. Cut the sentence in half.
Yeah. Should we reconsider, is important, code limitations?
Placed on driveways.
Period.
Question mark. End it after
Question.
driveways.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Alright. And then ditch the rest of it?
I think so. I
Okay.
think it's implied that you're referring to
Or what
the
if we
prior section.
said, should we reconsider code limitations placed on a driveway that connects two streets?
Sure.
that's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
That's really what it's trying to happen
On
here.
Yep.
corner
That's the
lot.
main
Okay,
thing.
okay, like, get
Yeah.
the in general and particular
Yeah.
stuff out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
alright, we got it.
One thing I learned in my search through the old code is that there's a difference between a driveway and a parking spot. And they are always different. Okay, the light pollution. I know that I took a lot out of this. I know, but I did. I took a lot out. I don't think the Girl Scouts piece is in there anymore.
That's fine. I think that was actually recommended to come out. at
It
one
was.
point.
I would recommend to take out more.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first paragraph is support for why we're including the question, but we're including the question. So you can tell us that, but you don't need to tell the participants that.
Mm-hmm. All right. I do think it's important to say, so you mean take out a number of respondents?
You
Yeah,
want-
yeah. I
As
mean,
well
we,
as
we know
res-
that if anyone cares, they can ask us, hey, you put that light pollution question, why'd you do it? And then we
Okay.
can say, oh, we can read that back to them, but we don't need to justify it to people.
Okay.
Like, we're putting it in there, we're deciding we're putting it in there.
Okay.
Just take the paragraph
Just
out.
take it out, yeah.
It's fine?
But I do think you have to explain that something about codified lighting standards to reduce light pollution and trespass, and I think you have to define what trespass is, cause nobody knows that word, or hears it, or when you hear it, you understand it, but nobody's, So I think some portion of that somewhere is part of
I don't have
the,
a problem with the way it is. I mean,
and what,
it
okay.
makes us look like we care, to me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Just look, hey, we've read, we're listening. That's why we're putting this in.
I like that thought. It's more folksy this way. Yeah.
I don't know that I'd call it folksy, but that's okay. I like it.
I'm
Again,
fine either way, but I don't wanna take too much out, because I think
Yeah.
the information is important, but I don't.
I took Girl Scouts out and I took streetlights out, okay? I don't think, that's not our purview. Streetlights isn't us,
That's true.
right?
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's fine.
I'm good either way. My comment still stands, but I'm good
Oh.
however. I don't have firm views on this. It's just my
I-
recommendation.
okay.
okay, so Alex,
Hey, Alex, you heard
I get
your
the
challenges.
final
You
edits.
get the final
That's
word.
right.
Yep, you get the
okay,
final word.
we'll take, I'll tell you what, let's take the need more info out.
There we go. There's an agreement.
All right,
on that.
okay, here we go.
Okay.
Now
Last
we're all in
one.
agreement.
No, not quite. Okay,
Okay.
trees.
I think what Dave wants is he wants to need more infos. He wants it to not be anonymous. Then he's going to call every one of them and tell them, you said you wanted more info on these 4 questions. Well, here we go. Let's talk.
Here we go, that's right. Here we go, here, let me, stand by
Need
for
more
info.
and then we just
Stand by for
put
info.
Dave's phone number. Need more info. Dave. Yeah.
Okay, all right. We on the trees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is we're gonna be done here pretty quick.
Would you be willing to take public comment on the trees question?
Absolutely.
Is this a good time?
We're on trees.
Okay.
This is a great time.
Amy Patillo, 3 Rockaway Cove. So I'm really excited to see some more surveying done on the tree ordinance. And one thought I had is that on question 15, I wondered if y'all would consider either some amendments to that question or an additional question, because I think that one of the comments that I noticed in the displays that were here for the open house, and that I've also heard in the community, is that there's a desire to have a heritage tree that actually can't be removed.
Mm-hmm.
Our current ordinance right now has protected trees set at 12 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
In comparison, the city of Austin starts setting their protected trees at 19 inches in diameter.
Sure.
The city of Austin then has additional tiers of classifications past that. I had to pull them back up again because I wasn't remembering off the top of my head, but city of Austin says 19 protected. That means you can still remove them, but you have to replace, which is what we have in place right now, is at 12 inches. If you remove, you have to replace. At 24 inches, they go to heritage tree, and that's when you have to have a variance for removal. And then at 30 inches, they go to a larger heritage tree, which requires that the variance process goes through a public process. And I honestly, I haven't had to ever do trees in city of Austin, so there's other people who could speak to the difference between the variance and the variance through the public process. But it occurs to me that this question is asking, should there be more done to save protected trees? And I'm just wondering, based on the feedback I've heard, is the question I feel like I've been getting is, should our ordinance have a classification of heritage trees that can't be removed? Because and what would that diameter be, right? So that was a thought I had, because and really one of the things we did on the protected trees with the question of saving the protected trees, there is an incentive to save protected trees that are within setback areas versus buildable areas, because you have to replace, if you remove a tree, a protected tree in a setback area, you have to replace it with significantly more trees than if you remove a tree, a protected tree that's in the buildable area. And so that was one of the ways that we worked with the ordinance to incentivize people to keep protected trees in their setback areas, in the shared green spaces, versus the buildable areas. And that was just, those were decisions that were made at that point in time. So I personally have wondered if there's actually an appetite in the community now to move to a second classification of tree, which would be the heritage tree that people refer to, and to make that one the one that has to have a variance for removal, right? So it has a much higher threshold for removal, and then to still keep the protected class of trees that can be removed but have to be replaced. And maybe the question of saving, I would just throw out, just in the way that the ordinance was drafted, I would wonder if maybe we need to heighten the number of replacement trees that are required if you're removing a protected tree. Right?
You're preaching to the choir there.
So, I mean, so
Yeah.
there's a couple of different,
Yeah.
and I know
Yeah.
that like getting into the weeds of the ordinance is probably not your, like y'all are staying high level, but it occurred to me that like in the same way that the stories question has a blank, I just wondered about, I would be interested to see in the community what size of tree people would want to classify as a heritage tree that can only be removed by variance versus by the permit process we have right now.
Well, yeah, I think we are all anticipating that, all of that going forward, assuming everybody wants us to. I think adding the word heritage to question 15 may be good, as you suggest, but I don't think we want to add much more. Like, the idea is, should we look at this? Like, are we doing enough? And I think that they can add comments, but I think you could say protected and heritage trees, and that might prompt them to elaborate. Yes, oh yeah, on a heritage trees, whatever, this or that. So
This is good, really good public comment.
Thank you.
This is really like what we would be looking for. That we would be coming back to the public and telling them, this is what we heard in the survey. And we want the public to elaborate on that as well, just like you're doing, come up to the public. Not only do we need more protection, we need to be thinking about different stages or different kinds of heritage trees. And that could be worked into our recommendations. I don't know we're going to get a mandate on any specific thing, from the public, other than to say, well, I'd like to see more done, but
I think it's pretty clear from all the emails and comments that there is a big appetite to improve the tree ordinance. And
For sure.
But we have to get the data that tells us that, not just the emails or the public. Like, we have to have the number of
Well, in the comprehensive plan that was already passed, the very top recommendation of like what's in the future land use planning, the top thing is people want the tree canopy ordinance in both residential and commercial improved and beefed up. Like, right? I didn't say beefed up, but
it was
like
actually number 2. It's actually
It's
number
number
2.
two?
Number 1 is
Okay.
building is the way buildings are sitting on lots. It's
and we have actually
Yeah.
this is the only question where we have
we've counted these things many times.
the only topic that we have 3 questions on
Yeah.
are trees.
Yeah.
Well, so
So-
it occurs to me that that was just a question I had. Is that
Sure.
I'm not sure if somebody hasn't gone through the process of taking out a permit in Rollingwood and hasn't ever worked with tree ordinances in other places, they may not know that protected tree is typically used in a classification of a tree that requires a tree permit but that can still be removed, versus a heritage tree is typically used in
Right.
tree ordinances to refer to trees that are harder to remove. So I just wondered, I know y'all are not educating everybody on everything, but I wondered, just the phrase save protected trees,
Would it be better served to remove the word protected?
you could.
Or add
Yeah, or you could
heritage.
add kind of,
Yeah.
maybe introducing that just so that we could find out from the public
Sure.
what that appetite is. And then on the question after it, my only comment was, the current ordinance does have a provision where if somebody has a certain number of replacement trees that they need to have on their property and they can't fit them all on, or if they end up damaging a neighbor's tree, right, during the building process, there is the ability to then find places to plant those trees. And so I love the idea of a fund also that the city could be organizing that more. It occurred to me that I don't know if anyone has actually taken the city up on that part of the ordinance. And so that's a question I've had is, I have a couple of questions that I am gonna ask city staff just to see like what things in the ordinance have people done and what haven't they done. Because I think it would be interesting to see if anybody has taken the city up on this ordinance of moving a tree to another place that's not their yard, how it worked out. And that might help to, as you're getting feedback from people about whether they want that, it might just help in thinking about the recommendation. So that was my only comment on that.
Ideally, with what you're asking, that should be known by the city as part of the site plan.
Yes.
This is, we're gonna take these trees out, and 2 of these trees are going to the neighbor, these replacement trees. We could probably find that out from the building official.
Right.
As to whether or not these things are in the site plan.
Yeah, I just looked at it and I was like, as I was reading through the questions, it occurred to me, and I didn't want to interrupt them while they were listening to y'all to go say, hey, has anyone done this? But it occurs to me that would be valuable feedback potentially to see if that has worked or not.
Okay.
And if people aren't aware of that provision too, and there's in the future an increase in the number of trees people are having to replant,
Right.
that is there. So it's not necessarily that you have to get every tree that you're required to replant on your own property. So
Okay.
those were my
Thank you.
comments. Thank you for hearing them.
Thank you, okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you wanna put heritage in there? Or
Oh, sorry.
do
I got
do
it.
something with
Yep,
that? Okay.
it's there.
Good. Okay, we're running out of time and I really wanna get through this.
We need to check mark question 14, I think,
Yeah.
if we want to, or talk about it, or whatever. Are we good with that?
Check mark question
14, good.
How much the priority choose? Do
Do
you
we
think
need
that's
it?
fine? What do you,
Uh,
I like it.
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
No?
Okay.
yep.
You don't like it?
I don't like the scale from a survey standpoint.
Oh.
I don't know, maybe Jeff could respond to that.
No, I like
It's 0 to 5, what does 0 mean?
Means
Oh.
it's not a priority.
There are people that are 0.
There's not a priority.
There are.
Like, if you look at those three, your 2 middle points are 2 and 3, which most people would consider falling down on one side, but it's really your 2 middles.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
There's
Yeah,
like
yeah, drop
only
0.
An odd number.
Okay.
one in the
Yeah,
middle being
she's right.
control.
Thank you.
Good.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay,
Good
that's a
idea.
good idea.
Yes.
So-
It's
Good
gone.
catch.
So, what do we make it?
Just
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
5, yeah.
Just 1 to 5,
and then
okay.
change scale 1 to 5.
1 is 0.
And then question 15,
1 is 0, that's right, okay.
is our current tree ordinance doing enough to save protected and heritage trees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Leave it at that?
Right,
Okay.
okay.
I have a general comment. Do we want to introduce anywhere in the survey for folks to rank their issues? So like you may, I don't know, maybe number of stories people are lukewarm on, but you get 90% of responses say yes, but in reality no one really cares about it, but like some other issue was only 50-50, but it's polarizing, but it's really strong for some folks. Like, do we want to give anywhere in the survey to provide that input?
I think at the end would be a good place, because this will have stimulated a
memory,
lot of
yep.
thinking here,
Yep.
I hope.
So just take each of the topic headings and you know,
Or,
at the
I don't know, just
back
have a
and
free-form
say-
space in the end where you just say, you
Well, I
know,
think
is
you-
there anything there that you really would like to get us?
Let's figure out how the administration of the survey works, what
Okay.
the options are,
Okay,
Right.
and then, and then I'll work with you on that, Alex.
okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Could we, private donations to plan, okay, zoning by topography. Okay, should we consider the creation of special zoning districts for unusual lots?
I'm good with this. Get rid of need.
Need, yeah.
Oh, we have heritage trees and zoning by topography question.
Yeah, it does end up there, yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it is.
Do you capitalize heritage
No.
in general? I kind
Put
of
it in
feel like I've
quotes.
seen that, but maybe I'm making that up.
I mean, I just had the city of Austin page open, so look and see what they do.
For some reason, I thought it was
They
a,
do, they capitalize it.
yeah,
Oh,
okay,
really?
But I think that's in part too, is they're defined in the code,
okay.
so like
Well,
protect the trees.
Well, then
It's
we'll
also
put,
a- yeah,
we
it's
would
a
do
table.
that,
Yeah.
we would
A
do that,
title,
yeah.
okay. That was my instinct.
18's a good question.
All right, so, are we good with zoning by topography?
Mhm.
Yep.
Good. Fences, should we limit the height, side and back, yeah, comments? We don't need to.
I like it.
Good, okay. Impervious cover and drainage. I really don't wanna hear too much about this, but we put a question in there anyway.
Some people care a lot.
Mhm.
People think they know what it is, and I don't think they do.
But we have to ask it.
You know, yeah, rolling wood is impervious. I also,
I think it's good. It's a good question.
I streamlined Brooke's questions.
Mm.
I took a couple of them out and tried to combine them in such a way that, you know, we just had fewer of them, so we get to an even number of 25, and I don't think you'll find anything offensive in there.
Okay.
Hooray. Are we done with this?
I think so.
You're gonna smith it a bit?
I am gonna do that.
Oh, wonderful.
And then I can.
And we are looking for,
One more scrubbing.
okay, now, are you gonna work on logistics too?
Yeah.
Great. How do we get this out? You know, if we have to buy a copy of SurveyMonkey or whatever the vehicle is for doing this, it's maybe not a bad way to go. It could be used for other things later on. The license, you know, whatever. It surprised me to know that we didn't actually have that here in the city.
Any names in particular for discovery that I should reach out to?
Well, Ashley seems to have some,
Ashley? Okay.
but she's not gonna be back until the 8th, and you can work on it until then.
SurveyMonkey, Qualtrics are fantastic, but I'm sure that's beyond expensive.
Yep. Yeah, we use
Mm.
Qualtrics,
Can't-
my company.
Does somebody in
I
the
like
community,
all
would
this
they be
stuff.
willing to,
Okay.
that might have it?
Right,
that
we
might
can
be
call this
willing to
meeting
share
now
it?
and just finish.
No, I'm
We'll just do
telling
this
you-
next
So-
time.
I'm just
Okay to
telling you
It's
ask.
a licensing
You got-
thing.
Yeah,
My
oh,
blessing.
Thank you.
You said it, we talked about it.
All right, I don't know, okay. Duke has to go.
well, I think I'll.
I don't know that we need a motion on anything that we're doing here. I think that
Okay,
we have a pretty good understanding of what we want to do and what the timing is.
okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, Duke. If we have nothing else to do on the survey, we can either adjourn and hold off on the process document until next time, or we can take a look at the process document and do something similar to what we just did with the survey. It is not gonna change the way we're doing anything right this minute.
Yeah, I'm happy to hold off on it, cause I've got family that would like to
Frankly,
eat dinner.
I wouldn't mind having the discussion on this once we're fully fleshed out.
Okay,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Once we got everybody here.
Perfect.
All that. All right?
okay.
So.
And I haven't looked at it
but,
anyway, so.
and I have made changes to it. If you haven't looked at it, I wish you would. And, all that. So,
You no longer have a quorum, so you guys are done.
that's right. We can't make any decisions. Right. We can we even adjourn?
Not technically.
No.
You can't take any action.
I'm afraid we'll be spending the night. All right. All right. I'm just going to
You can say it.
adjourn the meeting. Okay, it is 6:48.